Good morning and welcome to Mosaic. I'm Ron Swisher. It's always a privilege and joy to host Mosaic on behalf of my co-host, Elizabeth Ekdale. Most people who know me that I am an avid reader, and some of my favorite kind of reading are memoirs, biographies, autobiographies, because they share so much of what a person has gone through, their life stories, and I just love them. And so it's a great joy for me to have as my guest Reverend Donna Fado Ivery, who's written her memoirs, Sleep, Pray, and Heal. And it's a riveting story of her life. And so she's my guest, and I'm glad to have her. Welcome, Donna.
Thanks. It's good to be here, Ron.
Great, great. Before we get into the book and your memoirs, tell us a little bit about your background and your experiences.
Well, I'm from California, born and raised, active in the United Methodist Church, and ended up going to seminary, becoming a pastor, marrying my husband Hubert, having 2 little girls, just loving every single minute of life. And then one day we went to a fancy meal at a restaurant in Lake Tahoe, and a 200-pound glass partition fell onto my head. And in that moment, I sustained a disabling head and neck injury. And so have not worked since. And for 17 years, I relied on a cane, opioids, and a wheelchair to get around.
But you have worked.
I have, well, I do. I've written. It's taken me 8 years to write this book.
Right.
And I do a little preaching with some of the head injury stuff. It's you have to rest in order to let the brain come online, so to speak. So I do a little bit at a time, and the spirit and spirituality has really helped me find my way.
Right, I read that, and I've read the book twice.
Oh.
That's how riveting and compelling the story has been. I've been moved by it greatly, and we're going to get further into it. But your father is a great preacher, Don.
Yes, he is.
Your husband's a preacher,
Yes.
Hubert, and has his doctorate on spirituality from about Howard Thurman.
Yeah, he has a PhD from San Francisco, the California Institute of Integral Studies.
That's right. I had him on some years ago, and so it's great to have you. And I know he's in the audience and listening and eager to hear what you have to say, even though I'm sure he's read quite a bit of it.
He's lived it and read it.
Right.
And edited out a few things.
I'm sure. I love the book and how you relate to your family in it. Your mom and dad, your sister and Hubert and your daughters. It was just an amazing story.
Oh, thank you.
And we're going to hear more in the next few segments. Tell us about this and why you chose those words to articulate your story.
I'll do that.
Okay. Please join us in our next segments with Reverend Donna Fado Ivery, sometimes called Fado. Welcome back to Mosaic. If you're just joining us, we're talking to Reverend Donna Fado Ivery and her memoirs that just come out on Sleep, Pray, and Heal. And I'm always interested in titles of books, but not just the titles of the books, but the chapters. And so tell us a little bit about how you came about with such a interesting title.
Well, after about 20 different ones, this is the one that really set right.
Okay.
And it's set right because, well, I've written it for the general audience first, not necessarily for the church audience. So I wanted a title that didn't sound too churchy. So there's one reason.
Okay.
And another is that really sleep, pray, and heal are the 3 components that really come together where I found my path to wholeness and well-being, which is the subtitle of the book, A Path to Wholeness and Well-Being. After my head injury, I had difficulty speaking, thinking, seeing. Had double vision, and my eyes would jerk as it would go across, so I'd get terrible stomach aches and dizziness just from the ways my eyes worked and wouldn't focus. My left side was weak. I had difficulty walking and had chronic pain. And so what my brain injury rehab physician instructed me to do is for every hour up, I want you to lie down an hour. Because the brain must rest to heal. And if you overdo it, you run the risk of developing seizures, and we don't want you to do that. So I was in the, I was used to pushing it in order to get better. You know, you go work out, you do a little more, you do a little more, you go beyond, you know, and I was an overachiever. So it's like, yeah, push the envelope, push the envelope. And all of a sudden, it was turned on its head and said, no, go to bed, go to bed, go to bed.
And you had a reputation of being a very good preacher.
Yes.
So you had to change your whole approach.
I had the reputation of being an excellent student and a great preacher. And I loved being in charge, and I worked hard.
Yes.
And I would read at least a book a week just for sermon development. And all of a sudden, I couldn't read a magazine article.
That's got to be.
Because I just couldn't do it. And so I had to find a whole new paradigm for how to get through the day. And when you can't count on yourself for figuring things out, or you can't count on your words to pray, or you really don't know what you just did, or the name of your nephew, or how many cups of rice you put into the microwave, into the pot in order to cook. And that was 2 cups of rice with 4 cups of water. I couldn't count that because of my short-term memory. I couldn't keep track of counting to 2 and counting to 4.
Well, your chapters are very captivating, but you have 3 sections that stand out. Tell us about those.
My first section I call Breaking Open, that is the time of the accident when the glass fell on me, but it also broke me open spiritually. Because all of a sudden when you can't count on your words or knowing what to pray, I kind of fell back into the very beginning, the essence of the Spirit who created me. And I call it the brushes of the Spirit.
Brushes of the Spirit, I like that.
The brushes of the Spirit.
Brushes.
Which just kind of, you can feel it sometimes, you know, kind of like a little wind. Go this way, go this way. And then the second section is painting prayers, because I couldn't speak my prayers or know my prayers. I found that in all of these down hours, I would, what I was trying to work out would just kind of sit with me, and then I'd paint it. So I painted my prayers. And what was phenomenal that I was not expecting is that the Spirit would become, the messages of Spirit about healing would be inside of the paintings. Like this one right here I call Broken Gifts. And that's broken ostrich egg shells. And it was the 2-year anniversary of my head injury. And I was told by an attorney that for that 2 years is pretty much what you got is permanent disabilities.
Didn't Hubert bring that back from Africa?
He brought the ostrich eggshells back from Africa, and they all broke. Just like all these broken abilities of mine. And so I put them on a cross, giving my brokenness to God.
Wow.
And in that painting, what the brushes of the Spirit gave to me was I was feeling so discouraged with having not healed as I would hope. Because I thought, you know, if you had faith like a mustard seed, you would be able to tell this mountain to move. But that wasn't happening with my brain injury. So was my faith not good enough? And I wanted to return to normal, and I thought that's what healing was. But that painting of the cross and the eggshells, I saw a new person being born out of the broken shells. And I thought, oh, wait a minute, in the Gospels, healing is wholeness. And I can be disabled, I can be whole. I can be disabled and healed. And it's like new life, crucifixion and resurrection together.
And that's why they're creating anew.
Creating anew, and that goes into creating anew, which is the third section. So it's breaking open, painting prayers, and creating anew. And those same brushes of the Spirit, I became in tune with when they were moving and instructing me towards my path to wholeness, and when it was my own mind that was telling me something, because they're very different. So it's quite an education.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Though it took 7 or 8 years. It took a lifetime.
Yes, yes.
Right. That's the way I read it.
Right, because I have stories from my childhood and meeting my husband,
Right.
and you know, the spirituality, that give and take with God, is you know, that is the essence of the book.
I love
You
some
know-
of the pictures you have, and we'll see them in the next segment.
Oh, wonderful!
So I think I'm glad you brought them.
Great, thank you.
Please join us. We've been with Donna Fado Ivery. I'm Ron Swisher, and we hope that you join us in the next segments on Mosaic here. Thank you. In one of our last segments, we talked about painting prayers that Donna has done, and I'm going to ask Mike, our cameraman, to show some of those pictures that she's painted. So we'll lift them up here at this point. There's one. Could you
I called this painting "Formed by Tears."
Formed by Tears.
And it's a self-portrait, painted it very quickly in a very hard spot I was in. And it was my prayer about too much pain for too long. And what I discovered is that, well, I hated the painting because I thought I was supposed to be counting my blessings and staying positive, and that's the way to get through it. And as I sat and watched this painting dry, I had to watch paint dry. That's the most boring thing you could do, is watch oil paint dry for a month or two. And I thought, wait a minute. The brushes of the Spirit showed me, hey, the tears here are beautiful.
Well, in your story, I hear the psalmist.
Yes.
Very honest,
That's right.
authentic, angry at times.
That's right. And to give God your tears.
Yes.
And tears are holy waters at work. And that's what the brushes of the Spirit told me. Don't be ashamed of your tears. They're holy waters at work. They're moving through you. And it's a beautiful thing. And I changed my impression of tears. No longer am I ashamed of tears. And really, the brushes of the Spirit, they move with honesty.
I like that.
Just like worship in spirit and in truth. It's like the Spirit is a partner to truth. In fact, in Acts, Jesus says, Spirit is a partner to truth. And so
I like that.
the path to wholeness is always grounded in truth, whatever you're experiencing. And in the first year, it's like, well, I should be better. Let me just take my mind off of it and it'll all get better. That didn't work for me because I had a long journey. And the only way to get fuel to move forward was to stay with truth and spirit, which is honesty.
Love the brushes
Yeah.
of the Spirit.
Oh, thank you.
I might use it as a title and even give you credit for it.
All right.
Let's see another picture there. Yes, tell us about that one.
I call this painting Rocking Lost. And one of the effects of my head injury was that I couldn't rock my baby, who was 9 months old at the time of my injury. And so I went through a lot for a couple years, just being very angry that that was stolen from me. Had to quit nursing, could no longer rock her, really get sick riding in the car anytime there's motion around me. And so I painted my prayer of this old rickety rocking chair. And as the chapter in the book that's called Rocking Lost, about this painted prayer and what I discovered here, I sewed empty cradling arms in a mat out of the blanket sleepers that Imani wore, grew out of, wore, grew out of, wore, grew out of. And that was really where my heart was, that I was mourning the rocking lost. And you know what, Ron? It was so amazing when finally, in the moment I finished this painting, finally that monkey on my back, that grief and anger over having lost that time with my infant, it finally left. Because I had taken it to God and leave it there in prayer, and it was always right back there. I was always so angry.
One of the songs that you mentioned in the book, leave it there.
That's right, leave it there. And when I finished the painting and I can touch those blanket sleeper arms, it's like I gave that grief a home to reside. And that's the brushes of the Spirit, just showing me how to walk forward when you're sorrowful.
What I have not asked you until I
Yes.
thought of it now is how long did it take you to do those paintings?
Well, there's 3 years. These are the brain injury paintings, the initial ones. Some of them took 5 minutes. Some of them took 3-4 months.
I see.
And it just depended on where I was at and how honest I was being. And there are a lot of paintings that aren't there. The shoulding paintings, ooh, that did sound, should. You know, I was should. You should feel this way. You should be this way. You should be doing this. And I wanted bright stars, something beautiful. It's like the creative spirit just wasn't moving with that.
Well, I can hear
And so
that.
it was like, so a lot of paintings got off the wayside because they weren't telling the truth. And that is where the spirit moves, is with truth.
Isn't that something? I
Yeah.
had the privilege of hearing and seeing Smokey Robinson a few months ago.
Oh.
He took about 5 minutes to do one of his songs, Cruising, to write, but it took him 5 years to do My Girl, which turned out to be one of the greats.
Yes, yeah. Like the Form by Tears, the one of me crying. That's a 5-minute painting.
Yeah,
Because that was palette knife, 2 colors of paint. It was
yeah,
that was it.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Let's see another one. Yes, tell us about this one.
I call this TBI self-portrait, The Glass Fell. And from the outside, I look fine. But from the inside looking out, it's like this painting appears. There are broken spaces where my brain isn't connecting to one another. And the way I did this painting is I threw a mirror on the floor to see what happens when glass falls, because that was my prayer. What, Lord, happened to me when that glass fell on me? And then I cut a pastel drawing of myself into the same pieces as the broken
Now, how
glass.
long did that take?
Oh, that was about 4 weeks.
Okay,
But
okay.
that's also on the path of me being up 2 hours a day.
Oh, okay.
So I do a little bit,
Yeah,
lie down,
get
do a
that
little
balance.
bit, kind of get back and forth with that, you know,
Yeah,
the sleeping,
the
praying,
sleeping
and
and
healing.
that
That kind of gentle tidal
Wonderful.
motion.
Let's see those last 2 pictures of the family before we go to the next segment, because we'll run out of time. But I want to see your that wedding picture is just great. What year was that?
1986.
1986.
That's Hubert Ivery, Reverend Dr. Hubert Ivery.
Right.
And we were married in Fresno.
Okay.
And
Your dad
starry-eyed.
did it.
Pardon?
Your dad was
My
there.
dad did it. We had so many ministers in the
Right.
wedding. We had Baptist, and Christian Methodist, Episcopal, and everything possible. But that was wonderful time.
Let's see the family. The 2 daughters.
Oh, that's me. That's with Rocking Lost with my youngest daughter, Imani, and my older daughter, Aisha. And that's the first time I shared my painting publicly.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
How old are they now?
30 and 26.
Wow.
They're not little girls anymore.
I remember when they were little girls.
That's
Now,
right.
Look at
That's
that.
right.
That's amazing. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll have another segment, and we'll look forward to a poem she has for us, and one more picture that I think is important to see. With Reverend Donna Fado Ivery, we've talked about creating anew in our last segment of her book. And I wanted her to read a poem that would, I think, be so important during this Christmas season, in which we look for the new and the Christ child. And Dancing with Pain has been her story also. So this poem expresses that. Share that with us, Donna.
Thank you. And this poem goes with the painting, Dancing with Pain, that has me dancing with a body of broken mirrors.
Yes.
Dancing with Pain. I do not choose to have pain as my partner, following my every step, bending my body to its intention, holding me always with cutting arms, tripping me up to fall fully into its blunt, harsh body, reflecting distorted and exaggerated aspects of me. I do not choose to have pain as my partner. For 3 years now, I've grown into knowing this partner of mine called pain. I've caught on to just an ebb of a stunning, suspicious secret about pain's way. Shh, why the secret? Perhaps the face of pain is so gruesome my fear skedaddles over a cooperative character of pain. Pain follows rhythm. I step forward, pain steps back for a moment. Then lickety-split, pain steps forward again. I overdo too many steps at once. Pain cuts in. I can do as long as I keep rhythm with pain. Pain follows rhythm. With Pain as my partner, I can dance. Sashay, triple step, step together, side back, tap, 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 moving, rejoicing, feeling the exhilaration of sheer freedom as body blends with breathless desire of soul. I can dance. It is a precarious, delicate dance I live with this nasty partner called pain, but pain follows and knows rhythm. Therefore, I choose to improve my dancing skills. I will outwit, outstep, outinvent. I will keep up a joyous movement while keeping in rhythm with life's music, while keeping in rhythm with pain. Will I become so advanced that I will take the lead?
Love it. I'm glad we took the time for that.
Thank you, Ron.
That's better than Dancing with the Stars anytime. What we left out,
Yes.
website, how do you get your books, and any book readings coming up?
I have a website, adventuresinhealing.com. You can get there by DonnaFadoIvery.com. And a Facebook page, Adventures in Healing.
Okay.
Sleep, Pray, Heal can be found at any bookstore, anywhere. Just ask for it. And I also sell them on my website and Amazon and Barnes & Noble, everywhere, everywhere.
Great. Second question, when's the next book?
The next book is in 2020.
Okay.
I call it Sleep, Pray, Fly. And it's
Oh.
working with a healer.
I didn't know that.
And working with the brushes of the spirit, and how I restored my ability to walk again.
We can dance with pain, then we can fly.
That's right.
I love that.
That's right.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
And I'm sure the congregation and audiences listened will be inspired and lifted and feel resilient because of your example.
And the resiliency of Christmas.
Oh, yes.
The manger and everything going wrong.
That's right.
But yet the star shone and Jesus came.
Right. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ron Swisher, and I hope that you've been lifted by the story that's in this memoir that's so gripping. You will be deeply moved if you read Sleep, Pray, and Heal by Reverend Donna Fado Ivery. God bless you during this season, and may God always be with you. The brushes of the Spirit. Thank you for joining us.